Welcome back. This is Osun State 2018 Governorship Election Studios, coming to you live from Lagos. Here on Channels Television, of course, our correspondent, Sheon Kimbaloye, is covering the event, even there where he is in Osogbo, the state capital. We have been, of course, giving you this robust coverage from Channels Television, events and happenings from Osun State, and it's the governorship elections holding tomorrow. Well, let's continue and looking at the issues. Our discussion now will focus on the legality of some of the processes that we're seeing there. Joining me to discuss that in the studio is Mr. Kayode Akinshola. He's a legal practitioner. I want to thank you so much indeed for joining me in the studio. Not forgetting that we still have Mr. Mike Ejiofor. He's an SSS former director. I want to thank you for staying put in our Abuja studios. But let me start with you just before we dovetail to the legality of what is playing out in Osun State. You heard the police PPRO, Jimoh Moshood, saying that 18,000 is the figure of police officers that are deployed here. This is a far cry, I must admit, to what we saw in Ekiti State during the Ekiti State elections. Don't you feel that they would have equally sent in 30,000 police officers, as they did, as the police authorities did in the situation of Ekiti State?
Well, deploying 18,000, 20,000 is not the issue, but the arrangements on ground. Like, I first of all want to commend all the stakeholders, the police, all the security agencies involved, and INEC. But it's not the number of people deployed. The police PRO tried to break down the deployment, to each unit. But my worry is, let's get this right. But again, if we get this right with that number, you multiply 17,000 or 18,000 by 36. What is the strength of the police? So why this heavy deployment? It's a challenge, but we are trying to get it right because Osun election is a litmus test. We had Ekiti recently, and it wasn't actually what we expected in terms of vote buying, which is the greatest challenge now we are facing. The fact remains that much as the authorities are trying to improve on the system, the politicians will also be trying in their own way to manipulate the process. We used to have the issue of ballot box snatching, ballot box stuffing, toggery, arms, and the rest of them. Those ones are no more because of the use of PVC. Now the issue is vote buying. How do we go about it? I'm happy that the INEC has come up with strategies that people should not go to the cubicles where they cast their vote with cameras so that you don't, or their phones, where you now snap what you have voted for. My appeal is to the voters, not even the security agencies now, it's to the voters. The voters should be conscious of their responsibility and what they're expected to do. You can collect the money. It's not their money. Collect their money and vote your conscience. That is my message, and I think if we go there, but you see, the level of literacy is low, and the hard times, people are also not very conscious of what they are toying with, trading their future with peanuts, and it's really sad. I believe that the civil society organizations and the major stakeholders should go about educating the members of the public on the need not to selling their conscience by collecting peanuts.
Okay, if I may just come in here, one of the things that INEC have said consistently is that it will, as you've mentioned, fight vote buying. But let me bring it to the Lagos studio. Mr. Akinshola, do you think vote buying will happen tomorrow in Osun State?
From all indications, it's an issue that's actually been in the front burner since the history of Nigeria electioneering system. And to a large extent, we have seen Ekiti that was recently held their elections. And we quite know, very sure, when the report came out from the Ekiti election, they said the top contender, the political parties, the duo of APC and PDP, they took part in this subject. And when you look at the provision of Section 124 of Electoral Act, really mentioned there that if you give out a bribe in buying votes, you will be sentenced with a sum of 500,000 naira fine, or you go to imprisonment of 12 months, or both. If you receive it, Section 124, subsection B, really mention it. And when you look at most of these things, it really goes beyond, vote buying and what have you. If people eventually indulge in this, what is really going to happen? Will there be a punishment? Because one of the most important and the worst of the crime that anybody could commit is political crime. Most of these electoral offenses, all of them are spelled out in Section 129.
But is it true, or would you agree that if voters go in with their mobile phones and take pictures, and somehow we're able to, investigators, even the police, are able to get hold of that information, they can use it as evidence, that's tenable evidence in court?
Very well. Well, thank you, Umar. The challenges that we have here is that the law has always been there. When you check the Section 125 of the Electoral Act, it mentions secrecy. When you participate in an election, you have to ensure that such is held in secrecy. And when you look at even Section 148 of it, it mentioned that even if you are in court, you can choose not to tell the court during the proceedings whoever that you have actually elected to vote for. But most times, because recently I heard the spokesperson of the INEC who mentioned that they have the power to prosecute, but they do not have the power to arrest or investigate. I do not want to agree with them. Though Section 4 of the Police Act gives the police a very broad right for them to arrest any offense in Nigeria, not exclusively to political offenses. And when you take a cursory look at Section 59, for example, of that Electoral Act, it said police will be the one that a culprit that has been arrested during the electioneering process will be handed over to. And all of these laws, they have been there from time immemorial. But the challenges is that since the politicians are done with their electioneering process, they will prefer to go to election petition. And that is the reason why there is really no deterrent when it comes to,
Again, one thing that is very crucial in this election is the issues of security. How prepared or how much of the security that we have on ground are prepared for this election? So the Deputy Inspector General of Police have been talking to Channels Television on the preparedness of the police force for this election.